There was a time when meaning was expected. Not occasionally, constantly. Every experience was quietly asked to justify itself. What does this mean? Why is this happening? What am I supposed to take from this? Meaning hovered over moments like a requirement. If something felt good, it needed an explanation. If something felt difficult, it needed interpretation. If something felt neutral, it was often dismissed as empty. Life wasn't just lived. It was evaluated for significance. But as the inner narrator loosens further, something subtle begins to happen. Meaning stops appearing on demand. Moments unfold without interpretation, and nothing rushes in to explain them. At first, this can feel unsettling. We're used to meaning acting as reassurance. It tells us we're on track, that something is being learned, that this moment fits into a larger story. So when a moment passes without meaning attaching to it, the mind may briefly reach. Shouldn't this mean something? But no answer arrives, and the moment ends anyway. This is not emptiness. It's absence of interpretation, and that difference matters. When meaning doesn't appear, experience remains raw, unprocessed, not unfinished, unclaimed. You feel something and it doesn't turn into insight. You go through something and it doesn't become a lesson. You spend time doing something and it doesn't get added to a narrative. It simply happens, and then it's over. This doesn't make life shallow. It makes it direct. Meaning often arrived late anyway. It showed up after the fact. It framed experiences retroactively, said, "This was important. This was growth. This was a turning point." Without that framing, moments don't stack. They don't accumulate into identity. They don't demand to be remembered. They pass cleanly. This can feel like a loss at first, especially for people who relied on meaning to orient themselves. Meaning provided structure. It turned chaos into coherence. It made discomfort tolerable by promising purpose. So when meaning doesn't appear, there can be a brief sense of drift, like walking without a map. But that drift doesn't last. What replaces it isn't confusion. It's grounding. You stop trying to extract something from experience. You stop waiting for life to explain itself. And in doing so, you meet life more honestly. Moments no longer have to justify their existence. A conversation doesn't need to be meaningful. A day doesn't need to be productive. A feeling doesn't need to teach you something. They can be complete without interpretation. This is especially noticeable with difficult experiences. Before, discomfort triggered a search for meaning. Why is this happening to me? What is this trying to teach me? How will this make me better? Those questions weren't wrong, but they added weight. They made pain carry responsibility. Now, when difficulty appears, meaning doesn't rush in. There's no lesson attached, no narrative of growth, just the experience itself. And strangely, this makes difficulty easier to bear. Not because it's justified, because it's not burdened. Pain doesn't have to prove its worth. It doesn't have to earn its place. It's allowed to be what it is, then pass. The same is true for joy. Joy no longer needs to mean something. It doesn't need to signal success. It doesn't need to indicate progress. It doesn't need to be captured. Joy happens, then it fades. And because it isn't turned into a reference point, it doesn't create longing. You don't try to get back to it. You don't compare other moments to it. It doesn't become a benchmark. This makes joy lighter, less demanding, more frequent, because nothing is trying to hold onto it. Meaning used to create hierarchy. Some moments mattered, others didn't. Some experiences were elevated, others were ignored. Without meaning assigning value, hierarchy softens. Moments regain equality, not importance, equality. A quiet hour and a dramatic event sit on the same level. Neither one defines your life. Neither one needs to be framed. They pass through and leave no residue. This changes how memory works. Meaning used to decide what got stored. Moments that felt meaningful were remembered. Moments that didn't were forgotten. Now, memory becomes more organic. You remember what naturally stands out, not what was labeled as significant. This creates a lighter relationship with the past. You're not carrying a collection of meaningful moments. You're carrying what actually stayed, which is usually very little. This also affects how future is imagined. Before, meaning projected forward. This will matter later. This is leading somewhere. This is part of a bigger plan. Now, the future isn't loaded with expectation. You don't need the present to lead anywhere. You don't need to be building towards something. Life doesn't have to culminate. It just continues. This doesn't remove direction. It removes pressure. You still make choices. You still respond to needs. But those actions don't need to fit a narrative arc. They don't need to be meaningful in order to be right. They just need to be appropriate. Meaning often delayed action. You waited until something felt significant enough to pursue. You hesitated if something didn't seem important. Now, action happens without justification. If something needs doing, you do it. If something calls, you respond. Not because it means something, because it's there. This creates a quieter confidence. Not confidence in purpose, confidence in responsiveness. You trust that you don't need meaning to guide you. Life provides cues without explanation. Context informs action. You don't need to understand why something matters. You only need to see what's needed. This also changes how identity is experienced. Meaning used to anchor identity. I am someone who learned this. I am someone who went through that. I am someone shaped by these experiences. Without meaning attaching to experience, identity loosens further. You're no longer defined by what you've been through. You're defined by how you respond now. And even that doesn't need to be explained. You don't carry a story about yourself. You carry presence. This can feel strange in a culture that prizes meaning. We're taught that a meaningful life is a good life. That without meaning, life is empty. But meaning is not the same as fullness. Fullness comes from direct engagement, from being present without interpretation. Meaning often pulled attention away from experience and into evaluation. Without it, experience becomes immediate again. There's no delay, no translation. You don't step outside the moment to assess it. You stay inside it. This creates intimacy with life. Not emotional intimacy, functional intimacy. You're close to what's happening because nothing is standing between you and it. Meaning used to act as a buffer. Is softened experience by framing it. Without that buffer, experience feels more real, not more intense, more honest. You don't romanticize moments. You don't dramatize them either. They are what they are. This honesty is stabilizing. There's less disappointment, not because things improve, because expectations drop. You don't expect life to deliver meaning, so when it doesn't, nothing feels lacking. The absence of meaning doesn't register as a problem. It registers as neutrality, and neutrality is spacious. It gives room for life to unfold without commentary. There's also less urgency to share experiences. Before, meaningful moments wanted to be communicated, explained, validated. Now, experiences don't need witnesses. They don't need to be turned into stories. You don't feel the need to report them. They were complete as they happened. This quiets social comparison. Meaning often fed comparison. What does this mean for me versus others? How does my experience stack up? Without meaning, comparison loses relevance. There's nothing to compare. Moments aren't ranked. Lives aren't measured. You stop asking if you're doing life right. There's no metric. There's no standard. There's just living. This doesn't remove care. You still care about people. You still care about what you do. But care isn't fueled by meaning. It's fueled by presence. You respond because something is in front of you, not because it aligns with a story. This makes care more reliable, less conditional, less performative. One of the quietest changes is how language softens. You speak less about what things mean. You speak more about what's happening. Less interpretation, more description, and often less speech altogether, because there's nothing to explain. Silence becomes comfortable, not because it's profound, because there's nothing missing. When meaning doesn't appear, the moment isn't diminished. It's complete without commentary. You don't feel cheated. You don't feel lost. You don't feel unfinished. You feel present. And presence doesn't need interpretation. This is not nihilism. Nothing is being denied. The simplicity. Life doesn't owe you meaning. And when you stop demanding it, life becomes easier to live. Not easier emotionally, easier structurally. There's less mental work, less pressure to understand, less effort to place each moment somewhere. You stop sorting experience. You stop categorizing it. You let it arrive and leave. And in doing so, you discover something unexpected. Meaning wasn't holding life together. Attention was. And attention doesn't need meaning to function. It needs openness. It needs availability. It needs willingness to be with what's here. That willingness remains, even when meaning doesn't. The day continues. Actions still happen. Relationships still unfold. Decisions still arise. Nothing collapses. Life doesn't pause waiting for interpretation. It moves, quietly, ordinarily, sufficiently. When meaning doesn't appear, life doesn't lose depth. It loses weight, and that lightness allows you to move through experience without dragging explanation behind you. You don't need to understand your life to live it. You just need to be here for it. And being here doesn't require meaning. It only requires participation.